The fix is officially in. Hey guys, this is Jules with True Crime Reactions. Disclaimer, everything stated in this video is my opinion and my opinion only, and just like everything else in these cases we discuss here on this channel, everything is alleged. Okay, so yesterday in my community tab, I posted this with Brett Payne's shiny little old head on it because we had in the case summary an update stating that there was information incoming regarding the jury instructions for the IGG tip. Now, we've known for a long time that the IGG has been the biggest fight in this case, and it was also the most redundant one because both sides wanted it excluded for their very own reasons. And the insane part is that the defense wanted it excluded because they had proof and several experts that were claiming to testify to this about how a whole bunch of protocols and terms of service and a whole bunch of bylaws and guidelines and regulations and da-da-da-da were all broken by the FBI whenever they use these certain portals and all these different, again, technical loopholes to apparently find the match to the sheath DNA in this case, and how everyone has come to know it. It is supposed to be Bryan Kohberger's DNA. Now, the defense team has never once denied that it was Bryan Kohberger's DNA. They just want to know how it got there because according to them, he was not at the location. And I say according to them because that's according to the discovery. That's according to the information actually available in the discovery, shall I say. Now, when it comes to this situation, we've known now for a few weeks that the judge wanted the defense and the state to come together to come up with a story, a narrative, a lie about how they actually got to Bryan Kohberger. What is the truth? Let me tell you. The truth is that Moscow didn't know crap about crap. Okay? The truth is that nothing that Moscow did, nothing that Latah County did, nothing that Idaho did, literally nothing that anyone did besides the FBI got them to Bryan Kohberger. Without that knife sheath DNA actually testing positive to the sample that they illegally actually were able to come up with an answer to, they would have never ended up in Pennsylvania. What do I mean by that? I mean that nothing, literally nothing in this investigation was leading them to Bryan Kohberger, and they have admitted that already. The very first time they ever even looked into Bryan Kohberger was after December the 19th, whenever the FBI called the Moscow Police Department and said, "The man you're looking for's name is Bryan Christopher Kohberger," and the conversation was over. They were not given any information on where it came from. And according to Detective Payne, he was also never informed that this name came from the knife sheath. He also said in a closed hearing back in January, and yes, we've gone over that entire transcript here on this channel, and it's also public record for anyone who wants to argue with me and thinks that I'm just making things up. Detective Payne said himself that, again, not only was it only a name that they received on 12/19 along with no further information about where it came from, but that it wasn't until the 20th, the very next day, that they finally got together with the FBI team over Microsoft Teams, which is just basically like a huge PowerPoint presentation meet FaceTime session where you can go in and screen share and show things. We use it a lot at my job. But that's whenever they finally found out the information and Moscow was able to actually see the genealogical tree that was created. Now, the FBI only ended up with this information after December the 10th. Othram Labs, which is right outside of Houston, Texas, actually had the sample first. There has been so many rumors and so many different articles that mention how ISP originally couldn't find anything on the knife sheath. They couldn't find any DNA on it whatsoever. Further testing, suddenly, single source male DNA, and now we've got to figure out who it is. But now here's the holdup. Nothing in CODIS. So now what do? We run IGG. Again, They sent it off to Houston. And actually, I can't really say sent it off, because something else that we found out in those closed sessions was that a Boise police officer, according to the scientist and a scientist from the ISP lab, actually physically took it down to Houston. What they took down, I'm not really quite sure. I'll need to go back into the transcripts and see if they've given us any further information on that, because at this point in time, I'm not positive if they took the knife sheath itself and allowed Othram to do its own swabs, or if they sent swabs that they took themselves back in Idaho and only sent the swabs down. I'm not quite sure on the answer to that, so if anyone knows either way and has the proof for that, please let me know down in the comments. Now, all of these things happened. All of these agencies were involved. Count them. Okay, that's ISP doing their own genealogy tree. Then it gets into Othram. They find a family of 4 brothers that are apparently distant relatives to whatever DNA is actually on the knife sheath. Come December 10th, they're told to stop what they're doing. They send everything back to Idaho. Idaho then sends everything that they have and everything that they apparently got back from Othram over to the feds on that same day, December the 10th. Now, we know that on December the 15th, we have these 2 Indiana traffic stops, and a lot of people are under the impression that the FBI had everything to do with it. On top of just the assumption, they actually came out and publicly admitted to it, but then also admitted to losing him for a while. So then they just completely backtracked out of having any responsibility with it whatsoever. But we out here know better. On top of that, and that being December the 15th, we also have where they have law enforcement apparently watching Kohberger come in and out of a CVS in Pennsylvania on December the 16th. So just because Moscow didn't get Bryan's information until 12/19 doesn't mean that the feds weren't doing things sometime between the 10th and the 19th. That's 9 days, and with today's technology and the power of the federal government, 9 days is actually quite a long time to do quite a bit of work. So what happens? What happens after they get this phone call on 12/19? Well, according to Brett Payne, he didn't even file his first search warrant that had Bryan Kohberger's name on it until 4 days later on 12/23. So what was going on in those 4 days that they took that long to get this guy's cell phone records? You would think that the second they got his name, they would have began pulling everything. But no, he says it wasn't until 12/23. And of course, most of us that have been following this case from the beginning know that that would be the AT&T warrant. Now we are here to today, and today is May the 13th. And in 2 days, we have a pre-trial hearing in this case. What is the lie going to be? Because, see, the judge himself came out and admitted everything that we have been told about what the FBI did was true. Not even trying to freaking hide it. But what his excuse is that it's constitutionally unimportant. Hitler's words, not mine. So on top of telling us that the federal government is really lying and breaking all of these laws the way that we thought so all along, we're also being told that they can basically do whatever the hell they want to do and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter either way. Now, regardless of how you feel about Bryan Kohberger's guilt or innocence, that right there should piss you off. Now again, all of these agencies, all of this genealogical testing, how many hundreds of thousands of dollars were spent just on the IGG investigational portion of this case? How many? How much? Or was it really all just for nothing and the money wasn't actually spent on what it was supposed to be spent on? Was it all just a ruse? A Ponzi scheme? What was it really? Why wouldn't you want to show all of that expensive ass work and show just how hard y'all actually worked? Why? It's literally the main thing that the state has. They've come out and said themselves that the strength of their case stands on this sheath DNA. They've said it for a long time. Like, it's actually like in a hearing. You can go back and watch it being said out of their faces. But we're finally at the end. Like, literally, it seems like they've actually written the end, because now we have the order for the sealing of the proposed jury instruction regarding the tip leading to the investigation of the defendant. And this says that based on the parties' joint proposed jury instruction regarding tip leading to investigation, meaning 12/19 phone call from the frickin' feds, The court does hereby confirm and order that it is exempt from disclosure and sealed pursuant to Idaho Court Administrative Rule 32G1. Yeah. And then just says, for the reasons stated in said motion. Yeah, in the motion, that's sealed. Because never mind again. They've admitted what the feds did was illegal. So, of course, they can't have an illegal tip be what actually brought them to the defendant. Because, nay, we all know this is not a tip. The feds literally led this case. The feds are the ones who told the entirety of Moscow Police Department what to do. They were the ones telling them what search warrants to file. They were actually the ones getting the results back, going through everything, and then sending stuff back to Moscow along with the second step of instructions. They were the puppet masters. Moscow PD was nothing but puppets. On top of that, whenever they get to Pennsylvania, what happens? They're the ones who talks to Pennsylvania. They're the ones who are actually boots on the ground. They're the ones who actually bust into the house or help bust into the house. They're the ones who do the forensic download of his phone. They're the ones who take the cheek swabs. They're also the ones who do the inventory report for all of the things that were taken out of his parents' house during his arrest. The feds did all of this. The feds also did the IGG. The feds did everything. The feds are not a tip. The feds were the lead agency in this case, and that's what they don't want you to know. That's why they're doing this. That's why they're removing the IGG, because then all kinds of questions will start coming out about just how involved the FBI actually was and how much of this that these Moscow officers are testifying to, how much of that is really firsthand knowledge and not just what you're being told to say or being told about the situation and that you don't really just know it yourself. I don't trust any of this. I trust none of it. So yeah, it looks like the fix is officially in. It's going to be really interesting to see the lie that comes straight out of Brett Payne's face. I don't know. Something just tells me that there's going to be another twist when it comes to Brett Payne coming here real soon. But I guess we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Let me know what you guys are feeling about this stuff down in the comments. If you like the way that I present this information and give my opinion, please don't forget to leave a like on the way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed already. And please don't forget to make sure that that notification bell is set to all so you don't miss any of my rants, reviews, reactions, updates, or deep dives. Oh yeah. Have you guys been watching what's been going on in Nova Scotia with the Lily and Jack Sullivan case? I've been taking some notes. I'm getting a really, really bad Leilani Simon vibe from the mom. I don't know if I'm going to do a video about it just yet, but I have been paying attention. And yeah, those poor kids. I don't have good feelings about any of this at all. But yeah, let me know down in the comments if you've been paying attention to that story or not. See y'all.